Hello and welcome back. The first thing that we're going to note that is in this video, I am not logged in as Mike. I am logged in as my root user. And so you're going to want to log in as your root user account as well. Right? Just to prove it, there we go. Who am I? We are definitely root. And so right now we're going to navigate to Mike's home directory. So we're going to go back to here in our root directory. We're going to do cd home. And then we've got some of our users, and I'm going to do cd Mike. Okay, and so here we are. And so let's long list all of these files. And so we have some of the files that we created in our previous video. We see file 1, file 2, file 3, and then our hard link and our soft link as well. And so if we look, the owner of, say, this file right here, file 3, is Mike. And so Mike can read and write to the file. And anyone in the group Mike could read the file, and anyone else that's maybe not in either of those can read the file as well. Of course, we should note here, I'm the root account, so I can pretty much do whatever I want. So for instance, I can cat file 3 and read it, but then I can also, I should be able to edit this as well. So if I do nano file 3, I can just come down here and say, I am root. I'll take over, something like that, right? Because root can do whatever they want. And so now if I cat file 3, yeah, we see that those changes have in fact been made. So just to note, one of the reasons why we have to be careful when we're root is that we can make whatever changes that we want. So now if we look, ls tac l, let's look back here. I think owner is kind of self-explanatory, right? You know what the owner is. It's the person who maybe created the file. So if Mike created the file, then Mike's the owner. So right now I'm root. So let me just touch. Let me do file 4. And so if we do ls tac l, here's file 4. You can see the owner and the group are different, right? It's root because that's who made them. So owner is self-explanatory, I think, but let's talk about group for a bit. To view the current groups on our system, they're stored, there's a list stored, and I'll show you where it is. So we're going to go to the root directory, and then we're going to cd to the etc directory. And so I'll clear the screen and we'll type ls. And there is a nice text file right here, the group file. So if we cat this to the screen, cat group, we see all of the different groups that are currently on the system. So here's the root group. There's the admin group that we've seen a few times. And if we scroll down here to the bottom, maybe we see there's a Mike group and a Peter group. And so all users, when created, get put into their own group. And so we can actually view the current user and groups using a special command, the ID command. So right now I am the user root, and so if I just type ID, it tells me who I am, it tells me my group ID, and it tells me the groups that I belong to. And so we see that right here. And so let's switch up our users. Let's see, if I do su Mike, I'm going to change my user to Mike. And so now if I type ID, I get my user IDs, Mike, group ID, and then the groups that I belong to. And I'm going to exit out of that, and I'll do su Peter to see that that's a little bit different too. So if I type ID, we get our user information and our group information. Perfect. So I'm going to exit out, and we're back to being our root account again. So now let's create a group that we're going to put our two non-root accounts in. In my case, I'm calling them Mike and Peter. And we're going to put these non-root accounts into a group together. So in order to do this, we're going to use the command group add. First, I'm just going to get to my home directory. Really doesn't make a difference. I just like to be here. So we're going to use a command called group add. So I'm going to type group add, and then I'm going to have to type the new name of the group. So I'm going to do group add, and I'm going to call my group test users. Grouped dad, not group dad, group add. Make sure you spell it right, test users. Okay, and it looks like there's no issues. And so one of the ways I can check that this group was created is I can just cat that file. So I'm going to cat, and I'll use the absolute path so I don't have to go to the location. There's our root directory, and then it was etc group. And if we scroll all the way to the bottom, here it is, test users. So that group was created. Of course, let's just get some practice using grep. If I didn't want to scroll all the way to the bottom, I could have done cat etc group and then piped the output to the grep command and searched for a pattern, test users. And look there, we get the group that we want. Perfect. And so we have that group. If I wanted to delete a group, like maybe I made a mistake, I don't want to keep this group anymore, we can just use the group delete command. And again, we just put the user's name, or the group name. So I'll say delete test users. And so now if I cat etc group, you can see that group is gone. So, if you make one and then you don't want it anymore, you can get rid of it. But I think we want one. So we want it. So let's add it back. So we'll do group add test users. Test users. I don't remember. What did I do? Let's see. Oh, it's test users. Okay, test users. We'll say test users. All right. Let's just verify that it's in there. We'll use our grep command, and it's back in. Perfect. So now we've created this group, we have to add users to the group. And so in order to do that, we're going to use the user mod command. So let's look at the help documentation for this. So user mod tac help. So if we look in here, we have this tac G for groups, new list of supplementary groups. But then we want to look here for the tac A option. It says append the user to supplemental groups mentioned without removing them from the other groups that they might belong to. So if we call this command and we don't use this tac A, what the command is going to do is it's going to remove our user from any other groups that it's in and just put it in the group that we specify. Maybe you want to do that. I don't want to do that. I just want to make a separate group that these folks are in, these user accounts are in. So I'm going to use the tac A to append to their group list. So let's call this command. So let's add Peter and Mike to the test users group. So I'm going to do user mod, and then I'm going to do tac G for groups, tac A, and then I'm going to put is it the name of the group or the name of the user first? I just can't seem to remember. So let's try the name of the group. So test users, and then we'll say Mike. Group tac A does not exist. Oh, I'm sorry, I got those backwards. So we got to put the tac A first, tac A, and then the tac G. And the group that we're looking at is called test users, and we want to add the user Mike. Okay, I think that should work. We should do a similar command for Peter. So we'll do user mod tac A. So we're going to append him to, or append their group list, and we're going to add the group test users. We're using the tac A so we don't overwrite the current group information, and we're going to add Peter. All right, so let's clear the screen now. And if I just cat etc group, and let's pipe to the grep command, test users. If we look here, and so this is the command we did to verify the group, we now see two people in our group. We see Mike and we see Peter. Hey, very nice. So let's actually switch to one of these. Let's do su Mike. And so now if I type ID, when I look at the groups, I see that I'm in the Mike group and I'm in the test users group. There's also a command I could do. I could just type groups and it will give me the two groups that I'm in as well. So let's exit out of that. Let's just verify for Peter. So we'll do sudo Peter, and we'll type ID. Yep, and we see that Peter is in the Peter group, and he's in the test users group. So that's awesome. So making these groups, adding people to the group seem to work the way we want it to. All right, so let's see. Let's go back to, so right now if I type pwd, I'm in my root users directory. I don't want to be here. So I'm going to back up. I'm going to go to home/Mike. All right, and so here we are. Let's clear the screen and do the long listing again. So right now, as the user Mike has read and write privileges. So we've seen that Mike can read, Mike can write, but we can actually change the owner of the file. And let's do that right now. So to change the owner of a file, we're going to use the chown command for change owner. We type chown, the name of the new owner. I'm going to change it to Peter, and then the name of the file name. And so we'll say file1. And so when I do this, the owner here will change from Mike to Peter. You know what? Before we do that, let's su Peter. Let's become Peter. Let's try to nano file1. And it says file1 is unwritable. So we don't have the permissions here. So let's exit out and let's su into Mike. All right. And so if I do nano file1, I can type stuff. So this is Mike writing. Control X, we'll save it. And if I cat file1, we see that we were able to make those changes. We had the permission. All right. So let's go back to our root account and let's change the owner of the file. So we'll do chown. And then we'll type the new owner. So we'll do Peter, and then we'll do file1. And so now if I do ls-tacl, under file1, it looks like the new owner is Peter. So let's switch to the Mike user. So we'll do su Mike. And if I try to nano file1, we previously were able to write to it, and now if you look, it says the file is unwritable. So that permission is changed. All right, so let's get out of that. And let's change to the Peter user. So we're going to exit and then do, exit. Oh, I'm sorry. And then we'll do su Peter. Okay, so now if I look, I'm now the owner of the file. So now I should be able to nano file1. And I have no problem. And so now I'll say this is Peter writing. And we'll exit and save. And if I cat file1, that was perfect. So it looks like Peter was writing. But, so this is kind of cool. We were able to change the owner, and based on the owner's permissions, we've seen that we could write or not write to it. But maybe we want both Mike and Peter to be able to have the same permissions. Well, and the way we can do that is change the group ownership of it, because Mike and Peter both belong to the same group. They belong to the test users group. And so all we have to do here now is maybe change the group ownership. So to change the group ownership, we're going to use the grp, change group command. And we're going to type change group, and then the new group name, test users, and then the file name. And so we'll do this with file1. And so if I click enter, and now if I type ls-tacl, we see that file1, there's a new group owner. And since both Mike and Peter belong to this group, they will both experience the same permissions here. Unfortunately, right now, our group permissions, if you look, it's just read permissions. And so we have to give the group write permissions as well. So we have to change these permissions. And we're going to see how we go about changing permissions of a file in our next video. So I will see you then.